purple carpet, and this is live TV, friends. So we were just kind of fixing some wires here, and we're hanging out. And of course, I have the wonderful Gigi McMillan from Purple Runway. How are you doing now?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. Yes.
And you want to help introduce our next guest?
Our amazing Congresswoman,
yes,
Jennifer Wexton. She is here with us tonight, and I'm so excited.
I know. And there's so much about this event and about this cause that we really need to talk to you about. And specifically, obviously, domestic violence is something that touches us all, and I'm sure in the place that you represent. And so tell us a little bit about the Violence Against Women Act and what we can all do to get behind this.
Well, one of the votes I was really proud to take in this session of Congress was to strengthen and reauthorize the Violence Against Women Act. We passed that months ago. It's been sitting on Mitch McConnell's desk in the Senate ever since then, so call your senators and tell them that they need to demand that Mitch McConnell have a vote on this great legislation.
Okay, so people, really, you got to act in order to get this done. This is one of those things where, you know, we can't just think, oh, I guess I'll just leave it up to my representatives, or I'll leave it up to the people who are, you know, out there voting. You guys have passed this, and so was it an easy bill to pass?
Well, it was for me. I mean, you know, I've been a prosecutor, I've been a guardian ad litem. This is something that I'm really passionate about, and the majority in the House of Representatives feels really strongly about it too. But it's really important because it hadn't been modernized in decades, and we were able to close the boyfriend loophole so that intimate partners who aren't family and household members are now going to be covered under the Violence Against Women Act. So it's that much more important that we pass this legislation.
And so let Gigi make her plea to everyone at home who is watching this. Let's hear you. Tell the people at home who are sitting right there, what do you want them to do?
I really, just like our Congresswoman said, please call your council person, your senator, and your representative. I'm sorry, because if we don't do this in a unified way, we're not going to get any movement on it. Just with any, I know it's a lot going on. I know it's a lot of things going in the news and leaving the news, but we have to definitely push for the change that we want to see, and that's helping your sister, your mother, your friend, your cousin, your uncle. All of this is 1 in 9 men and 1 in 4 women, right? And we're going in the opposite direction. 10 million calls and 20.
Make sure they hear you.
Yeah. So it was 10 million reported cases in 2017, 2018, and now it's 10,000. Now it's 12,000. I'm sorry, wow. 12,000, and we're going in the wrong direction. So we need people to take control and call, just like Congresswoman Wexton just said.
Yeah, no, it's very important. So just to get back to you also, so it's sitting on Mitch McConnell's desk. And so you want people to call. What should they say?
They should demand that their senators have a vote on this legislation, because, you know, it's so important, and it hits everybody in every state, in every congressional district across the country. Yeah, it doesn't discriminate. It impacts families all across the country, all socioeconomic levels, all demographics. This is a national problem, and we need to make sure that we're protected.
We really appreciate you being here. And while we have this amazing opportunity to have someone who is really at the table, can we ask you a little bit about how does domestic violence play out in the area that you represent? What kind of services are there? What should people know?
Well, we're really fortunate because we have some great resources. We have, my home county is Loudoun County, Virginia, and we have the Loudoun Abused Women's Shelter, and they were fortunate to be one of the beneficiaries of Loudoun County, got a big Justice Department grant. That's another thing that we find is so important, make sure that we work alongside nonprofits in the community and groups like Purple Runway who help the survivors of domestic violence, not just when it first happens, but as they go forth into their new lives.
And we see you're wearing purple today to support the cause. A lot of people are wearing purple. What do you want people, Gigi, to know about? I mean, this is such an important cause, so much so that the Congresswoman is here on a Sunday, you know, to support this and working hard for us behind the scenes. So what do you want people to know that they may not even realize? You had some amazing statistics, 1 in 4 and 1 in 9. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yes. Well, 40%, that a lot of people think that men are not as greatly affected. 40% of the reported cases are men. as far for domestic violence.
Amazing.
And that's, you wouldn't think, that's about the 1 in 9 is 40%.
Yeah.
So we need to make it more comfortable for them to come out, because we're thinking about these reported numbers. Think about the numbers that are not reported. And I know a lot of people that have gone through it. There's people here that have not reported, but yet they've gotten out or they've gotten back in. I had a lady that came through this the facility today in her pajamas, and she was upset, and we comfort her because she saw the news this morning. But this is what, yes.
Wait a minute, I need to hear more. So you were on one of the local channels here, and she saw you, and she showed up here.
She showed up here, and because she was a rape victim, and she feels, you know, like she doesn't have any support. So we talked to her. The University of Maryland, Baltimore, they're partnering with the ROAR project with Baltimore, and they are going to provide us legal services and therapeutic services, and we're going to partner with them for the next year, because one thing, we can pull these women, they trust us. The women trust us, men trust us, and will tell their stories and want to share their stories, and they want the healing from their stories and have their children healed. So I get these calls, and it's women in here in the transformations you'll see tonight. So the point is that we want to get them right to the right services. And then also, as I was saying, a national domestic violence hotline, domestic violence registry,
right.
because it's so important that we want to make sure that women know, men know if someone is an abuser. And having that national registry, they can take classes, mandatory classes that they have to take for anger management to make sure that they don't abuse anymore. And that's the way to take those numbers down.
Right.
We're going in the opposite direction, as I said. We need to bring the numbers down. We can't have them going up. So that's discussions that I know plenty of people would have, because they're reporting people on Facebook, on social media. Don't date this guy because he's this. But you know what? If we had a sound way of doing it, he can get the help, she can get help, and we can change those numbers one survivor and one perpetrator at a time, by making them hold themselves accountable and teaching those self-values that we need for them to grow past and not repeat those same behaviors on either side.
And I've heard people talk about wanting to have a domestic violence registry. And so I just, I pose to you, is that something that is a possibility? Is that something that's possible?
Well, this is a national problem, and it needs national solutions. But one of the things that Gigi pointed out is it's important that victims and survivors of domestic violence know that there are resources out here, and we are here to help you. So do not be afraid, please. Do not be afraid to call. Do not be afraid to come forward, because there are resources, and we're here to help.
We're so honored to have you here, and I want to also just ask you one last thing about the addition to the Violence Against Women Act. You were saying that now boyfriends or significant others are part of that. Could you just give us a brief overview?
Sure. Previously, it had been family and household members, so only partners who had lived together or had a child in common, but this would expand it to include dating partners and boyfriends, girlfriends, which is really long overdue. A big recognition of how people actually live in today's world.
And one last thing, people at home to pick up their phones?
I know we mentioned it earlier, but please call your senators. Call your senators and call Mitch McConnell and tell him that we need a vote on the Violence Against Women Act. It's so important for everybody all around the country.
We're going to be really good friends.
Okay, I think that's probably it for us. Is that so? Are we sending it now to commercial?